Stop for a moment. What if the very foundation of your faith, the Book of Genesis, is actually incomplete? For centuries, this explosive question has been answered by a forgotten scripture, the Book of Jubilees. Imagine a volume claiming to be the definitive, original history of the world, a text so controversial it was banned by mainstream churches but revered by ancient mystics. Hidden in caves and lost for 2,000 years, Jubilees holds what many consider the terrifying, intricate missing chapters of creation. It reveals stories of Adam, Noah, and Abraham that are far darker, more organized, and more divinely detailed than you've ever been told. Today, we prepare to uncover some of the biggest secrets of biblical history. This extraordinary document, often nicknamed the Little Genesis, is a complete, systematic retelling and a massive expansion of the stories from creation all the way through the early events of Exodus. Its author wrote it during the turbulent 2nd century BCE, a time when Jewish identity was facing immense pressure from the surrounding Hellenistic culture. This makes the text not just a history book, but a radical theological manifesto. To claim ultimate authority, the book asserts its content was dictated directly to Moses on Mount Sinai by the Angel of the Presence. This isn't just a story, it purports to be the ultimate, accurate history, a complete, unedited copy of the divine laws recorded on the heavenly tablets themselves. Yet, for nearly 2 millennia, this scripture vanished from mainstream memory. It was preserved fully only in the Ethiopic tradition, written in the ancient Ge'ez language. The world's understanding of this text changed forever with the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls at Qumran. There, archaeologists found fragments of at least 15 separate Hebrew manuscripts of Jubilees, confirming its incredible antiquity and its foundational importance to the separatist community that lived there. It was, quite literally, a treasure hunt that proved the existence of the Bible's hidden library, revealing a text that had been cherished by a devout community long ago. So, what exactly does Jubilees reveal? Where Genesis leaves gaps, Jubilees offers terrifying precision. It systematically organizes all of sacred history into absolute chronological cycles of 49 years, called Jubilees, acting as the definitive, fully dated history of the world. But its most critical expansion concerns the cryptic passage in Genesis 6 about the sons of God. Jubilees identifies these beings as the Watchers, a group of angels originally sent to teach mankind. However, they sinned by descending to earth and mating with human women. This unholy union gave rise to the monstrous giants known as the Nephilim. According to Jubilees, ridding the earth of these evil giants was one of God's primary reasons for bringing about the Great Flood. But this raises a crucial question. If the flood wiped the slate clean, why did evil return so quickly? Jubilees provides a stunning answer and a definitive origin story for demons. The spirits of the dead Nephilim were allowed to remain on earth after the flood. These disembodied entities were then released by their chief, an adversary named Mastema, to tempt and corrupt humanity. This established a structured, spiritual source for all temptation in the post-flood world, fundamentally reframing the nature of the cosmic conflict between good and evil. Believe it or not, one of the fiercest battles in the Book of Jubilees is fought over a calendar. The book dictates absolute adherence to a fixed solar calendar of exactly 364 days. Because 364 is perfectly divisible by 7, it creates 52 perfect weeks. This calendar guarantees that every holy day, every festival, falls on the exact same day of the week, every single year, reflecting what the author saw as God's unchangeable cosmic perfection. This wasn't just a scheduling preference, it was a sacred boundary marker. Jubilees explicitly condemns anyone who follows a lunar-based calendar, warning that lunar observation is corrupt and leads people to disturb the year and make a profane day a festival. For the followers of Jubilees, adherence to this fixed, eternal solar cycle was the only way to preserve the covenant. This justified their separatist stance against the Jerusalem temple establishment, which used a shifting lunar solar calendar. Another profound theological idea in Jubilees is the introduction of a chief adversary named Mastema, whose name literally means hostility or enmity. Mastema is not an independent rebel like the later Christian concept of Satan. Instead, he is the chief of the demonic spirits, operating as a divinely permitted agent of testing, much like the Satan figure in the Book of Job. This character performs an incredible act of theological refinement. In the canonical Book of Genesis, chapter 22, God directly orders the severe test of Abraham, the command to sacrifice his son. But Jubilees interjects Mastema into the story. It is Mastema who challenges God to test Abraham's faithfulness, suggesting the sacrifice as his own dark initiative. Similarly, Mastema is assigned the role of hardening Pharaoh's heart and executing the death of the Egyptian firstborn. This literary strategy removes the perceived burden of malice or capriciousness from God's direct command, ensuring that God remains solely benevolent, while the subordinate forces of opposition are tasked with temptation and trial. So why, if this text claimed such authority and offered such detailed explanations, was it ultimately rejected from the biblical canons of Judaism and most of Christianity? The simple answer is, it was just too controversial. Its sectarian insistence on the 364-day solar calendar actively contradicted the normative lunar solar calendar that was eventually adopted by the emerging rabbinic establishment. Furthermore, its nature as an expansive text that added new, eternal laws fundamentally challenged the foundational idea that the canonical Torah given to Moses was complete and could not be added to. Despite its exclusion, Jubilees remained a colossal influence. It is still revered as a canonical text in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church today. Early Christian writers, including Jerome and Epiphanius, referenced it to fill in historical details, viewing it as a valuable source of supplementary knowledge. It confirmed for them the possibility of superior revelation beyond the standard Mosaic Torah. By confronting this detailed counter-narrative, we are forced to recognize that the Bible we read today emerged from a library of fiercely competing authoritative texts. The process of canonization was a complex, historical decision that determined which voices would be preserved and which would be silenced. The Book of Jubilees challenges our assumptions about the Bible's completeness. It forces us to ask, is the true history of Genesis contained only in the text we hold, or does it lie in the entire competitive library from which the Bible was born? If you want to dive deeper, I highly recommend looking up the accessible translations and commentaries by the leading authority on this text, James C. Vanderkam. And now, we want to hear from you. Does the story of Mastema or the detailed origin of demons change your perspective on Genesis? Let us know in the comments below, hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe for more historical and biblical explorations. Thanks for watching.